Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Don't Wait Till Pigs Fly, where we talk with business owners for business owners regarding the tactics and the strategies that help you grow your business from point A to point B. Today, we are talking with Winnie Anderson, who is a business achievement strategist. She helps clients uncover and embrace the courage, confidence, and clarity needed to take consistent action, build their brand and business as an expert solution provider, and make the impacts and incomes they dream of. Sounds good to me. Welcome, Winnie.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Nancy. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm really interested in hearing some of the words of wisdom that you have to offer. How long have you been in business, Winnie?
Oh boy, let's see. I have a head injury, so when I say I don't remember something, I'm not kidding. I don't remember. I'm going to say I went out on my own in the first time when I got knocked out of work in 1999. That was when I had my accident. But I ended up eventually reinventing myself and doing some work at an agency. So I guess when I really completely, this last time went out on my own, I would say probably right around 2008, 2009, right around the time of the crash.
Okay. I know that's a big thing. And actually something that you've just said is wanting me to go off on another tangent that I think is a really important tangent. And if you don't want to talk about it, let me know and we'll go back to what we were going to talk about again. But I too have some injuries and things that have made it very difficult to maintain my business and to do the things that I want to do. And I know that I've worked with people. Years ago, I worked in the DC area with people with brain injuries that really wanted to be business owners.
Yeah.
And you've never seen anyone put so much effort and focus into getting those business licenses. And one woman I worked with started a nonprofit and, lots and lots and lots of things like that. How do you, on a daily basis, get up and get going? I just did a Facebook Live just before we got on that said, sometimes you just got to push ahead, daggone it, whether you want to do it or not. Talk to me a little bit about what you do and what other people can do if they have issues.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned this. We're recording this in March, and March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. So I'm more than happy to talk about this. And I'm not going to kid you. It's not easy. This is the 20th anniversary actually of my injury. And once you have a brain injury, as you well know, you have a brain injury for life. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So the challenge is to continue to evolve and master the injury that you have and learn workarounds and how to deal with your issues. So it actually took me 10 years to finally admit to myself, I have a brain injury. I would say it a lot, I have a brain injury, but to really own that and say, this is me. I have a brain injury. So how I manage to get going every day, it's not, and there are times when it's not easy to get out of bed. I also deal with depression. So, and I had depression prior to my injury, but you know very well that having a health challenge can create depression as well. So one thing I do is, the first thing I do when I wake up is I say a prayer of thanks. I'm always thankful that I can open my eyes and I'm above ground. That's always a start to a good day, in my opinion. And when you think of how many people die every day from head injuries that are less severe than what I sustained, it really is something to be thankful for when I wake up. So I want to start every day from a place of gratitude. And then, I have to talk to myself, because it's very easy to stay in bed on a cloudy, cold, rainy day. But I have to remember what drives me, and we all have multiple reasons why we do what we do. Yes, I want to create a business for myself because I can't work for other people. I would never get the accommodations that I need. We all know that. We know that the ADA is the law of the land. We also know there's reality here. So there's not going to be the kind of accommodations that I would get. So I have that drive for myself, for my own independence. Then there's also knowing that I help other people to achieve their goals, and they're counting on me. That's important to me. But one thing that I've never shared before that I'm going to share right now, and I'm going to get choked up, I can tell. I consider myself a role model for other people who have, whether it's a brain injury. I just did an interview last week for a woman who, she has MS, and she serves the MS community. And she said, I know you don't have MS, but I want to talk to you about how you're able to do this. And I take that seriously. Yeah. That I want to help other people who deal with permanent injury, let's put it this way, or permanent issues that otherwise would limit their success. Yeah. There's hope, and don't let it limit you.
Yeah, and thank you. I am so honored that you've shared that with us. And and I do not have a brain injury. I have a whole body injury because I have not only have I pretty much lost the full use of my left leg and left side, but I have a part of what I have are the autoimmune, which brings along with it stomach issues, and I have brain fog, so I do have
it's similar.
Yeah, and just so much, and it makes that is my life. And, you don't have to go around going, oh, geez, everybody give me a break. I've got this, you don't do that, because that doesn't help you. But you do have to own the fact that you have something and almost be proud of it, because you're doing something that probably a lot of other people couldn't do, and you're doing it with some attachment.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I describe it. I'm glad you said that. You're doing it with. So when people say, how do you do this in spite of a brain injury? How do you X in spite of? There's no in spite of, there's with. So because I think of in spite of, it's almost living in denial. Or like your cross is extra bigger than it has to be. I walk with a brain injury. I walk with depression. I walk with my issues. And I know that I'm bigger than that, than all of my issues. And I also recognize that there are things to be worked around, and that I just need to develop strategies that work for me. Some of my strategies work for other people, some don't. And I also have to give myself the compassion to recognize that I'm not having a very good brain day today.
Yeah.
And I admit that to myself and other people. So my clients are extra special because they're okay with that. They recognize that I'm going to give them as much as I possibly can, but there's going to be a day when I might have to say to them, I'm sorry, I'm not functioning today really well. So I can't get on video, but I can chat, right? Yeah. So we figure workarounds. I was very blessed that after my accident, about maybe 6 months after, I was I'm going to say assigned. I was referred to an occupational therapist who specialized in brain injury rehab, and I spent 6 months with her. And I credit that 6 months with why I can talk to you today, and why I can function at the level that I can, and why I feel like I owe it to the rest of the I don't like to use the word disabled, the diff-abled, as I call it, the diff-abled community, why I want to always stand up for them and help them see you can figure it out too. I promise you can.
Yep. I love it. That's wonderful. And again, I give you a lot of kudos and credit and thanks and praise for being the person that you are and for sharing that, because it's not always an easy thing to share. And, you know, I'm pretty good about saying, hey guys, I don't feel good today. I'm not going to do this. And then I have these people who at one point I considered mentors who would get really down on me and say, oh, you can't be telling people those things. They're just going to this and that. And I'm going, if they don't understand what's going on, they're not going to be good clients for me. So, right.
Yeah, I shared a post on Facebook on March 7th. March 7th is the date, the anniversary of my accident. I'm happy to give the link to that to you. And as I said, March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. So that's why I did it. And I wanted to help people see into, and of course, as long as it was, and it is a long post, it didn't have all the gory details, as you can imagine, but I wanted people to understand this has been a journey that's gotten me here. And it's taken me 20 years to get here. Yeah. So no matter what you're dealing with, and we've all got something, know that there is hope as long as you stay focused and committed to coming out on the other side of this and walking with whatever it is you're fill in the blank.
Yeah. And I tell you, that gives me a lot of encouragement, because it's just been just a little over 5 years since my accident. So, it's still, and I just had the second surgery. The first one lasted 5 years, and then I had to go in and have it done a second time. Okay. And now they're actually talking about potentially amputating my leg.
Oh, and, God bless you.
Yeah, and I'm going, but I know that without a leg, I've still got a mouth. Without a leg, I've still got 2 arms. I've still got a brain. I can do things, and
you can.
I don't have to be okay with the fact that some stupid jerk hit me and then kept on going. I don't have to ever be appreciative of that, although in fact I really am. If you can look at some of the things that have happened and say, I would not be here today in this position if it hadn't been for that thing happening. But yet on the other hand, I wouldn't be here in this position, you know?
Yeah, I tell people that, I can recognize that the accident is one of the greatest gifts I was ever given. Mm-hmm. I would have liked it in a different box.
Yeah.
But it really was one of the greatest gifts I was ever given when I think about the outcome at this point. Everything happens, Byron Katie is famous for saying, nothing happens to you, it happens for you. Right. And I believe that things are given to us and that we need to make sense of them. And each of us could very easily, nobody would blame you if you sat there and ate bonbons all day and watched Oprah or whoever is the talk show of the moment and felt sorry for yourself. Nobody. But you're given the option. You can do that, or you can say, okay, now what? How am I going to capitalize on what I have? And what's the biggest lessons that I can learn? Yeah. And I've had people tell me that they are sick of hearing about my injury. I'm sick of having it. How about that? And in that case, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to somebody who needs to hear this message. And when we can remember that, and as for the person who says the same thing, oh, you don't want to talk about that. I think that we know that transparency, authenticity, 2 words that get thrown around a lot. Mm-hmm. I want people to know that, you know, I have something that's invisible. I couldn't tell by looking at you that you have a mobility issue.
Yeah.
So I want people to know that each of us carries our own cross, and that judging other people is often a recipe for disaster, that we're all dealing with what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's actually kind of funny because I never get out of my house. I'm stuck right here. And my husband had the opportunity the other day to go to a 2-day event 4 hours from here. And he said, "Do you want to come with me?" And I said, "I would love to. Just even if it was getting out of the house and going to a hotel and sitting in a hotel for 2 days." But we got me into my wheelchair, and he took me with him to this event. And I put a post up on Facebook because it was at a university, and the parking lot was all turned up. There were holes, there was everything. And the area that was made for wheelchairs to come up onto the sidewalk was all ripped to pieces. And I literally took a video of us, a Facebook Live, of him trying to get me from the car up to the doors to the building. And we're going around like this and bumping and everything, laughing our heads off. I mean, it was funny. I thought I was going to go clump on the ground.
Yeah, it's not an accommodating world. It really is not. And those kinds of things help you recognize this is not an accommodating world.
But it was fun too. We made it enjoyable. And I had a wonderful time sitting there, and it was great. So anyway, thank you for sharing all of that. I really think my listeners will get a lot out of it. I was going to say enjoy it, and that's not the right term, but will take it to heart, will hopefully buy into it and understand it. And both from the standpoint of don't being judging of other people, but also if they're having issues, there is something else out there. Mm-hmm. So thank you. I also think that this is a great way to segue back into what we were supposed to be talking about in the first place. And that is on why do solopreneurs not want to stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, boy, how many days do you have? So the people I tend to work with are what I call corporate escapees. They're people who've worked for other organizations at one point in their life. Mm-hmm. And if anybody really stops to think about what corporate life was like, you come in, and my background in corporate life was in HR. 1/3 of my career has been spent in human resources. So I was a recruiter and a trainer, and I worked in organizational development and design. So people come into an organization, there's a level of standing out to be selected, mm-hmm. right? Your resume, your application has to stand out from the others, both visually and from a content standpoint. You get selected to be interviewed, right? I had 300 resumes for one opening at one point. So you really do have to stand out. So you get selected to come in for an interview. Now there are how many people who are being interviewed? So I would interview an average of 7 to 10 for any one opening. So out of those 7 to 10, I'm only going to have the hiring manager interview probably the final 3. So again, you've got to stand out, and you've got to stand out again to be selected. But then when you go into your job, there's only a certain amount of standing out because they want you to be like everybody else, right? So we know that then once we're in that position, if we stand out too far, we get slammed back down. We're supposed to be compliant. We're supposed to fit in with the overall organization. So we're in that organization, some of us for decades. Right? We've worked for other people probably for decades. I started working at 14. So we've been conditioned over time. And many of us have worked behind the scenes kind of positions, right? Human resources is a behind the scenes kind of job. So now you are completely exposed. Yeah. You're the business, you're the chief cook and bottle washer, right, of that business. You are the brand. And there's this massive discomfort that many people feel with being the center of attention. You have to ask yourself why that's uncomfortable for you. And it probably is an old story that you're telling yourself, that what I say, people will reject it. I can't say that, right? There were plenty of times when I had to uphold a policy that I didn't agree with. So I had to find a way to rationalize that within myself and to voice it in a way that I was comfortable with it, but I really didn't agree with it. So we've been conditioned again to not be able to own our own beliefs and to say things in a certain way that weren't really polarizing. And that's the opposite of what we need to be out on our own. So I think that the short answer is we've been conditioned to be this way. And it's a matter of being aware of what patterns are made us successful as an employee. They're not the patterns that are going to make us successful as an independent professional.
So what do we do?
So the answer is to, one, tune into what's not working for you, right? To recognize there's a level of, I must be polarizing. Now, what happens is the brain tends to swing like a pendulum. So we tend to think of, I must be polarizing as, I've got to be a jerk. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that you need to have a clear opinion and don't be afraid to voice it confidently. To recognize that the more focused you get on understanding your point of view, your philosophy, beliefs, your values, and saying that clearly, you're going to actually attract people who go, yeah, me too. And then you're going to hear no less often, because you're talking to just those people who really want to hear what you have to say and who really resonate with what you have to say. But we're afraid of that because we've dealt with one of our core values as people is belonging. So we're afraid that if we repel people, we won't attract anybody. And that's what we're actually doing. In repelling, we're attracting those people who are right for us. So it's that confidence we have in our own opinion and the courage to voice it.
Well, and I think that actually is a part of what we're looking for when we're talking about our ideal client.
Right.
You know, it's people, I'll say, well, who do you work with? Well, you know, I could, and there's this, and people talk about this and laugh about it all the time, but it's hysterical. But, you know, here's this little Susie Q who's selling facial masks, right? And you ask her who's her ideal target, and she says, well, anyone with skin. You know? No. That doesn't work. But and then when you tell them you have to do exactly what you just said, you have to find the people that resonate with you, they get very offended and fight it.
Right.
And I think we need to be more aware of exactly what it was that you were saying.
Yeah, if I had anything that I could do over again, it would be that I would get narrow faster, because I refer to it as a slice of a slice. And the best people for this, the best examples are doctors. So when you think about it, there are doctors who have this, you know, they have a very narrow specialty, and it allows them to filter out all the other medical issues that they could possibly learn about and to truly go deep in their given subject. So I'll give you an example. So I moved about 5 or 6 years ago, and at the time that I moved back home, I had a gynecologist who I had seen for decades. And I was, you know, as we get older, we develop different issues, right? So I was developing different issues, and now I'm 500 miles away from home. I got to get a doctor. So I wanted someone who worked with women at midlife, who was a specialist in pelvic issues, who didn't worry about reproductive issues because I ain't having no baby, And I wanted a female. And I wanted her to work at a teaching hospital. That's the equivalent of a unicorn. And that's who I found. I found exactly that. She does all those things. She is an awesome, awesome doctor. I love her. And that's all she does. And she certainly has, she has a very full practice. And that's what we have to remember, is that we're trying to attract only those people who we most want to serve and can serve best, and trust that we'll become a magnet. And I think it's that issue of trust that we struggle with. Trusting that the more I get my message out, the more I become seen as the go-to person for that problem that I solve.
And that's interesting. In a second, I'm going to ask you to actually talk a little bit about what you do, what your business does. But I saw a quote a couple of days ago that I'm going to paraphrase because I can't say it exactly. But it's really neat. It's like, when we have a question these days, what do we do to answer that question?
Right.
And that's, we go to Google.
Right.
And we Google it and we get an answer. Google is very broad and has lots and lots and lots of answers to many, many different things. You, as a business owner, need to become the go-to person rather than going to Google, where
right.
you may get a million different answers to your question.
Right.
You're going to get the one specific answer that you're looking for.
Yes. That applies to you. Yeah, that really applies to you. Yeah.
I love that. So that's a little bit like what you were just saying.
It is exactly what I was saying. Yeah, great job.
Yeah. I think that's great. Tell us exactly what Winnie Anderson's doing these days.
So what I do is I help people achieve their goals. And I work with people who are, frankly, have some fear about that. Whether I work with introverts, I work with people who have been behind the scenes kind of people, so they're naturally uncomfortable with being front of, as we would call in the hotel business, front of the house. That makes them uncomfortable. And they also often have something else that's rattling around inside of them that has had them hold themselves back. So I look at, where are you now? Where do you want to go? What's in your way, and what's the best way around that? And we develop a strategy to help them get there. And then the big issue is, how do you develop the consistent success habits that are going to keep you on track? So, there's this classic book, The Science of Getting Rich, right? And Wallace Wattles in that book talked about how success is a science. And what he means there is, if you keep doing positive things, you're going to eventually achieve the positive outcome. Does that mean you're going to make $1 million? No, because there's so many other factors, right, that come into play there. But success really is a matter of developing sustainable positive habits that over time are going to get you the outcome that you want. And habit change is difficult for adults.
Oh, yeah.
The late Joan Rivers, God rest her soul, she wrote 13 books before she died.
Wow. 13
books. Now, and I'll bet she would not have called herself an author. That probably wasn't what she led with. She would think of herself as a comedian, a television personality, right? And then author is down in the bio. But so you have to, one, change your identity and your kind of thinking, but you also have to take daily action. How did she write 13 books? She wrote every day.
Yeah.
So there are behaviors and actions that you need to take every day, and building those muscles of success. That's part of the work that I do, is to help you develop those sustainable habits that lead to successful outcomes.
We're going to be talking off camera. Sounds like a good plan to me. That's great. Moving then back on to, here we are trying to figure out how to stand out.
Right.
Right? There's, and you mentioned, going, oftentimes when we think of standing out, we think of going into being jerk mode. How does, I got an email this morning, and I actually just put up a question on one of my Facebook groups, because I get these all the time. I will get people asking to friend me, and I'll say yes. And then I get these long, long, long messages that, oh, I'm so glad you friended me, and, here's what I do, and goes into this whole long introduction on what somebody does. And, oh, and by the way, if I can ever help you, let me know. And I'm going, you don't even know, who I am or what I do, and you're all of this stuff. That kind of standing out is not good.
No.
But how does one stand out,
Yeah,
especially when they're first trying to interact with someone, to start that know, like, and trust process?
Yeah. So that's actually two separate things that are being taught as one thing. So recognize that. So one is you're just trying to pitch somebody and you're icky. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're just being icky. Then the other issue is, so standing out and relationship building are two different activities. So how do you develop relationships? That's not it. That's how you get labeled a jerk.
Yes.
So number one, don't be a jerk. Don't ever be that guy. Whoever you would define that guy as, don't do it. Develop relationships the way you would normally develop relationships with, but you have the advantage then of social media, of being able to look at somebody's profile, look at what they post about, what drove you to want to connect with them in the first place. How about saying hi? How about, hey, I'd love to listen to your show. Can you pick out the 3 episodes you're most proud of? Now the person gets to shine, right? And they get to say, this is what I'm most proud of. So you're going to get a peek into what really made them feel great about their own show. So it's all the stuff that we all know in our heart that makes people nice friends. Just be nice, right? And always and I was just exchanging messages with a client about this morning. When we come from a place of genuine service, opportunity opens up. So if you can really focus on, I want to learn about you. Tell me about you. And think, what does that person need? I must know other people who I can refer you to, or I read a lot. I'll bet I know a book that would be great for you, or I saw an article that would be great for you. Focus on serving first. That's what builds a know, like, and trust quotient.
Yeah.
So then how do you go about standing out? It comes down to your point of view. Your point of view is made up of your philosophy, your beliefs, your values, your approach to the problem that you solve. And as corporate escapees, we often don't even know what our own beliefs are, because we've been indoctrinated and enculturated so deeply with supporting the organization's beliefs and values. And we're lucky if we worked at a place where we were pretty similar to the beliefs and values of the organization. So it's really thinking about those things. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is think of, what are the 10 commandments that you would tell people for doing whatever it is that you do, right? The problem that you fix. What are the 7 deadly sins that people do, right? What are the biggest mistakes? And then what is your response to those things? The things that you say all the time, they're your beliefs. The things that make you cry, the things that make you mad, those are your beliefs, your values. So it's being comfortable enough within your own skin to be able to say a clear statement. And again, corporate life, in human resources, we were the ultimate fence sitters. Mm-hmm. And we were proud of that. We tried to look at a problem from all sides and be detached as much as we could. Mm-hmm. Well, that makes us pretty vague communicators sometimes when we're out on our own. So it's being able to say, no, This is what I stand for. This is wrong. This is right. And it feels uncomfortable because it can be a little bit black and white. And we know there are plenty of shades of gray.
Yeah. How does one, if they've gotten kind of a hold on that and they're understanding that and they're working on that and they're actually starting to get the people coming to them wanting to have them in their, how do they then move on to sales?
Yeah. Right. Yuck.
Yeah.
And that's because we all have experienced that guy. And if we haven't, we've been in a situation where we've made a purchase, but we didn't feel knowledgeable about what we were buying. Right. Cars are great examples. I love cars, but I'm not a crazed car fanatic. I don't know all about engines and things like that, but I'm interested in cars. I do like them. But that's a tremendously big purchase that we feel uneducated and uninformed about. So we're always looking to another expert, an outside expert, Consumer Reports or that kind of thing, Kelley Blue Book, to guide us in our decision. So our memory of when we have felt pressured or uncomfortable and that we didn't know enough comes with us. Yeah. So when we don't want to be that person who makes other people feel pressured. So this is why one of the key elements to sales is remembering that sales involves 4 steps and 4 steps only. Educate, elevate, inspire, and invite. So when we focus on educational content, you've got a podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Sharing educational information, that's back to Google. That's what we're looking for, right? We're looking to get our questions answered. We want information. So sharing useful information that is genuinely tell somebody how to do something that answers a question. So in educating them, you elevate yourself in their eyes. You must be an expert, right? Mm-hmm. And you share a little bit about, it's called seeding. You share a little bit about how you got your knowledge, right? I dropped in that I have a brain injury, so I know about overcoming challenges. I'm also an adult survivor of child abuse. I understand what it's like to have an emotional wound and to be fearful, have a deep fear memory. And that's what fear is. It's a memory. So we then project that into our current situation. And in selling, we don't want to be, like I said, that guy. So you want to educate them. You want to elevate yourself in their eyes by demonstrating your ability, because the buyer doesn't know how to buy either. Right. So it's why, you go somewhere, you go to the ice cream parlor and they give you a taste of ice cream, right? They demonstrate this is good, so I want to buy more. It's why video is so popular, because it demonstrates your ability. So building your sales process on a foundation of education is critical, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So educate, elevate. Now, inspire. While you educate them, you're helping people to recognize what's possible for them if they fix this problem. Yeah. And there's some things you can say that can help them. Now think about, what could you do if you did this, right? Mm-hmm. So you help them get inspired. The next step is just, do you want to learn more? That's it. Do you want to learn more? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Maybe I do, maybe I don't, right? Maybe I just want to read some more. Okay, that's fine. But eventually, people are going to have to talk to you, right? Because there's only a limited amount of knowledge that I can ever share in a specific time period, right? Or that people have time to consume either. So you just want to keep, do you want to learn more? Yes, no. And at some point, the question is, are you ready to fix this problem? That's it. Are you ready to fix this problem?
I love it.
I love it. I am. Or no, I'm not. Okay, great. If you're not, God bless you. There's, I share information every week. You're welcome to stay in my community. Maybe you have a Facebook group, and that's a nurturing kind of way for people to continue to build a relationship with you. Because, and again, we don't want to judge people. People have been scarred.
Right.
Made mistakes. They've bought into people who talked a good game and ended up screwing them over, right?
Yeah.
So some people need more trust than you're able to give them in this basic interaction. So you want to keep them close. What's the best way to do that? And then again, it's always, are you ready to solve the problem? And again, no, I'm not. Yes, I am. Great. Well, here's how. And then it's a matter of details. So you have to feel confident in your details that you say, here's how I find that is the best strategy for folks like you. You know, I have more than one program. There's an element of, I have to listen to what your problem is. Am I even the right person?
Yeah.
And if I'm not, I have to feel good enough to say, you know what? Here's your real problem. You thought it was this, it's really this. I don't solve this problem. And you've got to solve this before you can solve that. So I recommend you go over here. And then, you know, I'm always here when you're ready to solve this. But so I think that we've bought into some of the crap that the gurus sell. Yeah. And we have to get back to trusting ourselves, remembering that we're really just trying to solve a problem, but we want to solve the right problem that we solve best. And we want to solve it for people who are ready for it. Yeah. So there has to be some way for you to get educated about them too. And then it's just a matter of that invitation of whatever that next step is. So here's how I would solve your problem. You know, I have these different offerings. I think this is the best way for you. And here's what that looks like. Are you ready to get started?
I love that. And, you know, it's frustrating for me because I am out there looking for programs. I want to refer programs to different people. I want to take programs myself. I don't see that. That's not a normal way to sell. And when you're talking about fear and memories and all of that, so often I will run into the, well, if you don't have that money to spend, then you're only hurting yourself. You know, that kind of.
Yeah, that's using shame as a sales tactic. That works. You know, yeah. and I have seen it. I know exactly what you're talking about. And so that when so many of the gurus teach that that's how you have to do it, this is where you have to really say, well, I'm not going to. Yeah. And I'm not going to play these games. I'm not going to manipulate people. This is the way I work. And if you want to be shamed, there are plenty of other people who'll play that shame game. Go over there.
Literally, I had one woman a couple of years ago. She wanted like $20,000 for a program, coaching program. And, you know, I didn't have $20 in my pocket back then, let alone $20,000. Right. And she had the nerve to tell me that if my child needed a kidney, I would do whatever I needed to right. get the money to have that kidney fixed. Right. I needed to treat my business as my child. And I went, you know what? If that was my child, I'd start a crowdfunding, and if that didn't work, I don't know what I'd do because I don't got $20,000. Right. And, you know, everybody I talk to, I tell that story to because that was the most horrendous.
Yeah. Now, I do agree that there's a level of that. I hate also the people who say, you know, it doesn't cost anything to start a coaching business, or that's a lie. Yes, so that's a lie on the other end. So there needs to be a happy medium. Businesses require investment, and so this is what you need. What's the best way for you to get that met? And it might be that maybe that $20,000 program would be the best, but you know what? I'm not ready for that investment. So what else can I do? And this is where, you know, do you have a flexible offering?
Right.
You have this is why I put out content, right? Well, I have this free content you can consume and do your best, right? I don't hold back. I tell people the how. That people who say tell people the what but not the how, that's BS. I'm
Yeah.
telling you how.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm telling you how. So there are books that you can buy. All of my programs, I'm in the process of putting them into book form as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
the people who, hey, I only have $10, great, buy a book.
Yep.
Buy a book and take yourself through it. Join my Facebook group. You've got me there. I share a lot of free information. So there are ways around that. But yeah, we're responsible business people. We're supposed to be. So to have somebody say, go get a second mortgage to pay for my program, and I got news for you. You would have paid 20 grand for that program, because I know people who've made that kind of investment, and they get almost no time with that guru.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get videos. It's still do it yourself. And I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of how I run my business. Number one, I don't charge a fortune. My mastermind program's $100 a month. That's most anybody. I want people to be able to afford it. I want people to say, she gets really good information and I want to be a part of this, and I'm not going to have to go to the bank to get it. I do a lot of online. I produce these podcasts that give information. I'm getting ready to write a book too. And, I think it's more, I want to make money. I've got a new computer. I'm going to Podcast Movement in August. I need the money for the hotel.
Sure.
And I'm doing that so that I can get more knowledge and experience that I can then turn around and share with other people. So yes, we as business owners need and should expect to be paid for things, but I do think that there are, ways in which it can be done. And do not shame someone. That's certainly not the way to grow a business. So
no. Or your reputation.
I am looking at our time and we're almost out of time. So is there anything that we did not talk about that you would like to share?
I just think that what you want to do as you continue to make progress to growing your business is you want to constantly challenge your own thoughts and ask yourself, do I have a belief that is no longer serving me? Do I have a habit pattern that is no longer serving me? And remaining vigilant about those things. And because I think it's the Einstein quote, what got us here isn't going to get us there. And we have to remember that those behaviors that we've been conditioned to and brought us success in corporate life are probably not going to be the same behaviors and patterns that are going to get us to that next level of success independently. So constantly asking yourself, is this working? Is this getting me what I want? Is, I think, an important action that we need to take.
Perfect. I agree. How does somebody get in touch with you? They've heard this podcast. They really want to sign up for your programs, and they have a question they want to ask you.
Yeah. First of all, I'm all over social media. I spend most of my time on Facebook. You can always find me there. But my website is winnieanderson.com. And if you are serious about having a chat, you can go to winnieanderson.com/chat. And there's a little questionnaire that you can complete and to give me some information about you before we meet and have a chat. But I put out a lot of free content, so getting that information on Facebook or at my site is always a great start.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for today, Winnie. It was really a very, very interesting conversation. And guys, anybody who's listening, this was really important information today. I encourage you to download it, to share it, to subscribe, because every week we have wonderful, wonderful information from other great business owners who are willing to give of their time, energy, and knowledge to share with you and to help you soar higher. So don't wait till pigs fly, but get out there, get off your tuchuses and do some work, and we will see you again soon. Thank you all, and see you next week.